the pull of that on the person in the relationship is so strong that there are limited opportunities, right, to, like you're saying, to have any external experience to kind of alert them to the fact that, like, oh, maybe this isn't how most people do it, or oh, maybe this is different, or oh, like, because it's so insular, there
Yes.
are less reference points outside, right,
Yeah.
to kind of verify
Actually,
what's going
Lindsay,
on.
that's a really good point. I didn't even mention that, is that in general, I work not just with individuals, but with couples as well. And oftentimes by the time they get to me, their life is very insular. In other words, there's not many rich opportunities that go on outside of either themselves or the family, or maybe a very close circle. But that usually just includes their families. Like, oh, we're always at his family's house, or we're always at with her mother. So yeah, life becomes very limited in that way, which then just feeds into, unfortunately, and becomes a perpetuating cycle of disillusionment.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's say, like, post relationship. Let's say someone is recognized, they've tried to reconcile, trying to work through it, maybe haven't been able to, and have put some distance in that relationship, right? And they're now post relationship trying to kind of figure out how to engage with people from a more healthy or a more autonomous place. What are some of the, like, leftover remnants of the relationship that are going to they're going to have to kind of manage and deal with? What are those emotional and psychological challenges that are
Well,
maybe going to be with them for a
yeah.
bit?
Oh boy, this one is a little complicated. Can I use an analogy just sort of to
Yeah.
drive it home to the listeners? So if anybody has known anybody who's been caught up in a scam, right? So these people that get caught up in a scam oftentimes give away their whole life savings, right? And I've heard these stories before, and they have loved ones telling them, you are being scammed, right? But they can't hear it because there's this illusion of what? Fame, power, wealth. There's a big payoff at the end. So for someone to leave a scam, for someone to leave a cult, right, where you're also brainwashed into believing that salvation is just around the corner, right, that all your needs are going to be gratified, for someone to leave a narcissistic relationship, you see, it's the same thing. So to your point, Lindsay, when you leave, now if you leave that illusion behind, which is not easy because you're leaving the hope, the promise of salvation, and all what we call internal propaganda that goes along with it. That life is going to be wonderful once this happens, right? So now you're in reality and you're expected to leave that behind. And that's a big, big loss, right? Because you just gave away your whole life savings, or you've been with this partner for many years. So that's on one level what makes it very difficult, because you're asking someone to step into a painful reality and leave all the internal propaganda behind. The question is, why would you ever leave this relationship if it seems so wonderful and blissful, and there's this togetherness, and you have, maybe you don't have a lot of friends or hobbies, but you do have your family of origin, or maybe his. But it also comes with intense levels of intense moments of devaluation as well. Because when there are times when there is separation, and it's inevitable, it's so hard to stay in a narcissistic bubble, just reality always gets in the way, then you are devalued, or you're devaluing him. And then there's, a lot of intense fighting, name calling. And when you leave, you're not just giving up something, which is that propaganda that I mentioned, the salvation, but you also take something with you. And I think you know about this, Lindsay. In fact, we spoke about this earlier, right? Is you take the negative voices with you. Like, remember the stream of negativity coming at you? So all the voices of, like, you can't make it without me. I'm the only one who will ever put up with you. You don't feel worthy or capable. Could you imagine then trying to start a life with not just the loss that you're asked to deal with, but now what you also bring with you, which are these critical voices? So those are just a few of the most immediate challenges when someone gets out of this kind of relationship. Does that make sense? Like, tell me, what do you...
No, I thank you for the way you described it. And as you were talking, I was thinking and tethering some of the things you had said. And as Anthony mentioned, we had a conversation about mindfully approaching these
Yes.
types of relationships on his podcast. And we'll talk more about that at the end. And I'm going to link to it in the show notes.